Talking with Jerry.
Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is another short one, something that came up over the Christmas holidays and talking to some people. And then, of course, we all know about the recent injury to the player on the Buffalo Bills who was injured. And the conspiracy theory started up once again about COVID. You know, he had the COVID shot, and that's what happened to him. So, it was just a coincidence that I was talking to some people over the holidays, and some people were back and forth about these conspiracy theories. Another person was discussing things in the music business, asking me questions. And then, that situation happened. So I thought that I would just comment. And once again, this is commentary, my opinion, and, just based on some of the facts, some of these crazy conspiracy theories. And it'd be interesting for you to think about, almost like, what do you think? But here's what I wanted to comment. And I went in to look at what are some of the most discussed conspiracy theories. So one is always about the music business. There's always these discussions that, oh, the reason so-and-so made it, they were chosen. Oh, they sacrificed a person so that this person could make it. Or the record label was successful because they killed so-and-so, let's just say Biggie, or they killed Tupac, and that's why Death Row was able to go on and be successful. All of these crazy theories. So I just said, I'll just talk about some of them briefly and, logically show why these things are just totally off of the reservation. So one person was talking about R. Kelly. Oh, he was set up and it was, fixed, etc., etc. R. Kelly was a great singer, great songwriter, great performer. Never saw him in concert, but he had a lot of fans. What happened to R. Kelly, he did to himself. Nobody forced him to do it. It wasn't a setup. The tapes that he made, the witnesses that came forward, he had the best lawyers, and he was tried by the federal government and by local state governments and found guilty in a court of law based on the evidence, not a conspiracy that somebody was out to get him. So when you see people famous like that, people like to make up things about, oh, someone was out to get him. It was all a setup. Whitney Houston. Okay, we know Whitney Houston unfortunately had a very tragic death, but unfortunately Whitney was a drug user. I mean, that's just a fact. Arista Records or whoever, there was no evil person in the music industry that wanted to get Whitney Houston. Matter of fact, the record label had to sue her estate to get back money that they had advanced her in the tens of millions of dollars as a part of a almost $200 million record deal that she was supposed to make money over the coming years when she re-signed to Arista. So why would they go and do something to end her career? It's just totally ridiculous. Of course, I mentioned Biggie, before, and his murder, which was unfortunate, based on the East Coast, West Coast rift. And you can go and do your own research. The guy, Bunchy, who was responsible for killing him, he was murdered himself. He was a gang member out in LA, was killed several years later riding a motorcycle in Compton. People involved in that situation know what happened. And there was no music people that, they had to sacrifice Biggie. Tupac, the same thing. Orlando Jones, who killed him, who himself was killed later, the car wash in Compton. Those of you that followed this, there was a fight at the MGM Grand Hotel, and Tupac jumped in it. He shouldn't have, as everybody says, because that was a gang situation. And then just by luck, Orlando Jones and several other individuals were in a car, saw someone yell out Tupac's name and looked, and his car was right there. and a gun was passed to Orlando Jones, and Tupac was killed. There was no conspiracy of a plot by some evil people in the music business. We had the Aaliyah plane crash. I mean, you know, the plane was overweighted. She wanted to hurry up and get back to the States. I've heard people talk about Michael Jackson, that he was assassinated because people wanted his publishing. Well, that's ridiculous. Michael was about to go on a major tour. The promoters had put up, really, I would say maybe over $100 million, because it was going to be his last tour. To book all these venues, they were rehearsing, spending millions of dollars just in rehearsals and staging. And, you know, the publishing company that Michael Jackson owned, just because he died, no evil people in the music business took it. It went to his estate. It eventually went to Katherine Jackson, his mother. And then she decided, eventually, several years later, to sell it for close to $1 billion. So there was no conspiracy to kill Michael to get the publishing company that he owned, because he died and it went to his mother. And an individual who used to manage or be an executive that Michael trusted at A&M Records, that was responsible for Janet Jackson's career and Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam's career, that Michael Jackson had an association with, became the person to oversee the trust, and that everything would be handled properly. And then, as I said, within a few years, Katherine Jackson sold the publishing for $1 billion. So, you know, that one goes out of the window. You know, in the music business, to make it, it starts with the talent. If you don't have talent, nobody's going to want to hear you sing. Nobody's going to buy your records. Nobody's going to see you in concert. And to make it, as far as a record company is concerned, after the talent, you have to have good songs. Well, nowadays, hip hop is a big part of the music industry, so I don't know if you want to call a rap or hip hop a song that someone's rapping, but even, you know, in that, it's talent and it's good music for people that like that kind of music. So after that, you have to have a good songwriter. You have to have a good producer. And after all that is done, and maybe $1 million or more is spent, the record has to be promoted. No one knows if someone's going to buy it, if it's going to be downloaded, if someone is going to stream that particular music, because we don't know what someone's going to like or not like. It's a risk. And just because it makes it on the radio, if the radio station likes it and says, oh, this is a good record, let's test it, we play it, are the listeners going to call the station and say, hey, I like that record, play it again? Nobody knows what's going to happen. So it's a gamble. So now you have the talent, you had a good songwriter, you had a good producer, you got past all of that, you put out the record, the radio station decides to play it, now the public has to like it, now they have to actually buy it. And then the next step is, because this is how most artists make their money today, it's in live appearances via concerts. If you put on a crappy concert, word's going to spread. Nobody's going to want to go see you, or people won't go see you again. So there is no planned, I can make you successful. Oh, we're going to sacrifice and kill this person so this person can become successful, because nobody knows. And also, a year later, you know yourself, your career could end, because many artists are a fad. In the old days, an artist might have a career that might span 3 to 5 years. Sometimes now, careers can be longer, and there's a few artists that have careers that we know can go a decade or two. But the reality is that most artists are a fad. After 1 or 2 albums, their career is over.
Uptown Records started with 5 people. Andre Harrell, Al B. Sure, Heavy D, and Puffy. And Kim was the longest working employee, because she was there from the very beginning. She was Andre's personal assistant. Kim is dead. Heavy D is dead. Andre Harrell is dead. The only 2 left are Puffy and Al almost died. In
That is interesting.
Heavy D was found.
Now, this is an example of the BS. I knew Andre Harrell for a long time. He suffered from sickle cell anemia, almost died on numerous occasions. He lived to 59. Heavy D had a blood clot. Kim Porter died of pneumonia. Al B. Sure had kidney failure. People get older, people pass, whether you're in the music business or not. Now, another conspiracy theory that I like to talk about is the 9/11 tragedy. And it was really upsetting this past September on 9/11 that people would call radio station shows. I listen to a lot of talk radio and go, oh, I don't believe 9/11 happened. Oh, that was a conspiracy. Those planes didn't go into the building, blah, 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 blah. Now, many of these people who were calling weren't even alive when 9/11 happened. But they, on the internet, they're looking at these conspiracy theories. Total BS. Those of you that are old enough that you know, I'm a New Yorker. I was watching live TV at work that day when the first plane went in the building. I cut the TV on. And when I saw the second plane go in, there were people there with me. I said, no, that's another plane. That's not the truck replaying the first plane going into the building, because the truck wasn't there. The news media wasn't there. And even the guy in the studio said, did you just replay the plane going into the building? And it took a few seconds, and then the broadcaster says on site, no, that was another plane. And thousands of New Yorkers ran out of those buildings. Firemen were killed on 9/11. Police officers gave their lives running into those buildings. There was nothing conspiratorial or fake about that. Nor about the plane that went down in Shawshank in Pennsylvania, nor about the other plane that went into the Pentagon. What happened to the people that got on those planes? You know, their family members, their wives, people who were called from the plane that have recordings of their husband or their wife crying on the plane saying the plane has been hijacked. So 9/11 happened, and how people could make up these conspiracy theories. Of course, some people say, oh, well, the planes went into the building, but it was a planned demolition. So wait a minute. Some people went and put dynamite in both buildings of the World Trade Center. They knew they were going to put some timed explosives so that whatever day, part of the conspiracy is these planes are going to fly into the building to blow the buildings up. And nobody else knows about it but you who's spreading this story. I mean, how did they go into the World Trade Center day after day and put these explosives and nobody knows about it? Nobody knew who they were. I mean, just another crazy conspiracy theory. So I have two more that I want to talk about that everybody over time, over the years, has their own opinions on. End of part 1. Part 2 will be the crazy theories on COVID, the Kennedy assassination, and landing on the moon.